I was told once that when you prepare conclusions for a conference, the best way to do it is to write them before the conference ever starts, and that way you'll be sure to finish on time. The problem at this conference was that when I looked at the notes I was taking, I had about 8 pages of notes, and that was just after the first day, and I was realizing that there were so many great sound bites to use in the conference that I couldn't resist just trying to weave them in some sort of tapestry, even though I'm only going to do a bad shadow of what all the rest of you have said. But I will try and give a few sound bites, a few ideas I heard from the conference. And the first one comes from Christoph. I will not try and pronounce surnames. And the message here was that research excellence involves not only looking at the conclusions of the research, but it involves thinking about how to use them. Maybe no conclusions. Maybe we should talk about striving for excellence and how PHExcel does that. So great. At this point in my presentation, we had a whole conference about how professional higher education can help us strive for excellence. And then Jeremy went and threw a spoke in my wheels by asking, does PHE actually have a distinct role from more academic institutions? And I think this is where we actually have to start. And the point I just want to make here is that to talk about higher education as a sector is a little bit strange. If you look at the range of subjects and the range of buildings and the range of methodologies that goes within this term higher education, let's look at subjects, medicine and literature and languages, each one completely different pedagogical techniques. Let's just look at the facilities you might find on a campus. You might find a startup center, you might find a lecture hall, you might find a research lab. Completely different type of buildings with completely different functions. And all of this is within this one term, higher education. So on the one hand, of course, higher education is a thing, but there is a lot of variety in there and a lot of different areas where you can look at quality. And one of the areas we've chosen to do that, one of the many distinctions, is this distinction between academic versus professional, which we've been looking at quality of in the PHExcel project. A couple of things I always like. I like defining by exclusion. Professional higher education is not vocational education and training. It's clearly higher education. It's not all education delivered at a PHE institution. As a matter of fact, using another of Jeremy's slides, the conclusion I take from this is we spent too long navel-gazing and too long deciding what is professional higher education institutions, what is a university, what's the difference between the two. And the definition we've been using in the project actually just says that professional higher education is higher education that offers a particularly intense integration with the world of work. That's it. And who does this professional higher education? Franz gave us the perfect quote here. Excellence is rarely found in an institution, it is found in a unit. And it is units that practice professional higher education or academic higher education or a different type. And for me, any unit that is trying to connect with the world of work is at least putting one foot in the area of professional higher education. Maybe not exclusively. So, now I've gotten that cleared out. We have the simple question of what is quality or excellence. And between Lucien and Eugenia, we have this list. Exceptionality, perfection, consistency, fitness for purpose, value for money, transformation, student satisfaction, and sustainability. Wow. I am happy I'm not a teacher. And then on top of everything, Johan tells us that excellence is a moving target. I think the slide, more than anything, tells us just how hard education is, just why we need really, really excellent teachers. And I never thought I would quote a UK Minister of Education, but this was excellent. We need to ensure that students get the teaching they deserve and employers get the graduates with the skills they need. And I would add that society just needs the educated people to form part of it. Speaker after speaker tells us the world is changing. It's changing politically, it's changing technologically, it's changing in terms of values. And all we need to do is prepare students for a future we can't even imagine ourselves. And our quality and our excellence is going to be measured in how well we do that. So yes, it's rather complicated. We had the wonderful metaphor of an ensemble. Danuta, in Johann's voice, said that we have a need for a common vision. And if I got it right, an ensemble requires coming together in terms of space and time. Now, I am by far from a music expert, but I did a few piano lessons back in the day, and I think you also need a score so everybody plays the same piece of music. And thinking of the idea of a score, this is what you might call the PHExcel tempo. Quite simply, you might say that pH equality is directly proportional to the integration of intensity with the world of work. But here also, some words of warning from France. There is such a thing as too much integration with the world of work. I'm not even going to pretend to know exactly where that is, but there's a point where it does become too far. And the context of what we're talking about, the score, what PHExcel hopefully contributes towards this whole problem, this whole complexity, is just a score, a way of looking at quality, a way of looking at excellence. One way of doing it. Divided into 3 areas: policy and strategy, teaching and learning, and research, all of which you've heard excellent case examples of today. And each of those is then divided into a number of criteria. I am not going to go into the criteria. I know lunchtime's coming up, but you have excellent frequently asked questions sheets in your packs, which goes into this in more detail. Here's the thing though. Again, with this first area of theoretical work from PHExcel, Stephen tells us that thresholds of excellence are insufficient to gauge quality. Damn. Luckily, we are talking about something today, and what we're talking about is PHExcel not as a label, but as a consultancy service. And as a consultancy service to support organizations in their ambition to develop excellence in their integration with the world of work. It brings me to one more definition of excellence from Stefan, where he said, act as a network. And what we're hoping to do with this PHExcel consultancy service is simply enough to use the power of networks, to use the network of experts you find in the networks of Urashi as well as the 4 sector organizations to help institutions in this striving towards excellence. And how do we do it? As was already discussed quite a bit in this panel, using a system of self-assessment and review using a normal quality assurance cycle which every institution is familiar with. Why do we use this sort of system where you do a self-assessment, coaches come and talk to you and recommendations are produced? Very simply, because we've been using this consistently in the European higher education area for a number of years, and it is shown to work. It is shown to bring about improvement. It is shown to bring about collaborative recommendation building. And so that's why we want to go forward with this. One last lesson, which was underlined by Johnny. It's not just about doing the research, it's about having the facilities to publish the research. Publishing the research and making it available is an essential component of quality. I could not agree more. That is why we live by the same principle. PHExcel.org is the website. You will find more information on the consultancy service. In a few days, you'll find the presentations from the conference. You will find what's a truly excellent database of quality labels, looking, I think, at nearly 50 quality labels in all. And you'll find all the publications and research from the project. So all that is left for me is to thank you for your attention, to thank all the partners for the 2 years of work they've put into creating this, to thank the European Commission for the money, and to thank you for attending the conference.